Another day, another Sunday. We got to dive into everything that's been going down here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up here on the channel. I am your host, Jay. As y'all can see, we got Coop in the house. Thank you for listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway. And gift it. So on today's episode, it's going to be a fun one. We're going to dive into the SEC preseason All-American teams as well as the team rankings. We'll talk about injuries and what this means for the Sooners coming up in the season, coming up to fall camp, and then we'll wrap things up and talk about the latest commitment and a commitment we missed on. And what does that actually mean for the team and what we're going to do about it. So, listen up. Hit us up on the Unfair Fan Line, 430-901-1906. Let us know what you think of the show. Here for your strongest opinions. If you want to end up on the show one day, we'll probably do like a voicemail segment. So hit us up, 430-901-1906. Cool. It is Sunday, man. How are you doing, man?
Man, with all the stuff hitting my timeline, let's talk about that first.
Absolutely.
It's Deadpool Wolverine week.
God, I cannot wait.
Y'all thought I was doing something else with that.
Deadpool
Wolverine week, and so I got my first showing tickets ready, and the evening too. So I might hit it up twice on Thursday.
I'm jealous, man. I think I may do the same thing. I've actually been debating on doing that. Probably hit it up on the evening tip as well as the day tip as well as evening. I kind of want to go when nobody's around, and I want to go when people are around because it's going to be good, man. I am stoked. Thank y'all for pulling up. It's good to see every single one of y'all in here. Team 130, we've got big stuff on the line. We got, like I said, topics wise, we've got some fun stuff to really dive into. The main one here, to be honest, is we're going to talk about the SEC's All-American teams. We're going to talk about, if you've seen me floating around, I've done a few shows and talked about my ballot and everything. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the teams, All-Americans, team rankings, All-Americans, and then we'll go from there or whatnot. But kind of recapping like SEC Media Days, right? I was home Wednesday, and we talked about it on Wednesday's show and a little bit more to that, man. It was, as I thought about it more, started listening to a lot of the opinions of all the other media members, especially in the Soonerverse. I can see where the mistakes were made on my part in preparation and things I should have done. But overall, man, it was definitely a blast. Next year in Atlanta, I plan on getting there and getting some interviews, especially after we see how Oklahoma does and see what people thinks about it. But listening to the unofficial 40, and you could tell Eddie and George are kind of like, it was all right.
We don't need to be there day 1. We don't need to be there day 4, just around Oklahoma. Yeah, that was a big thing. If you guys haven't already done, we might have. We got a new router in place at the Casa de Jay, and it looks like it's already shaken out. But with the SEC being the 16 teams as of right now, we don't think that there's going to be anybody kind of extending out, going into the next season. So what you're going to be looking at is 4 teams a day. I love the ample, attention that it offers to everybody showing out. So, typically as we cover Oklahoma this year, a lot of the, questions revolved around, is Oklahoma SEC ready? That's what, a lot of the Oklahoma people had to answer over and over and over again. Is Oklahoma SEC ready? But, it is good to hear stuff. We talked about a little bit on Wednesday, Jay, about, Jeff Lebby, how does that look like day 1? You had Shane Beamer, talking about Oklahoma and the relationship. Josh Heupel had himself looking good in his suit. So
he did.
Next year, it'll be a little bit different because we'll have a good idea about what's going on in that route. Again, guys, if you have questions or whatever in the chat, SEC days stuff, topics that we didn't cover, hit us up in the chat. Let us know what you think. Next year Atlanta. I think I'm going to show next year with you too, Jay. Unless I'm giving away $100.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be nice. But no, you're 100% right. We got an idea of what to prepare for and how to be prepared for, right? Which is what I'm happy about and what I'm here to do next time. So, but no, it's Levy was good. I think my favorite thing about SEC media days when it comes to the actual like interviews and stuff is the fact that us coming into the SEC, there were so many people that was tied, had ties to Oklahoma, right? You had the Shane Beamer conversations. You had Josh Heupel, Jeff Lebby, right? In a way, Mark Stoops, him being a Stoops. It was intriguing to see how many people really are connected to Oklahoma in some capacity. So, yeah, I thought that was fun. Everybody, what did that? That was not the thing that I made. What is this?
No Olipop. And this is slightly more exciting than Olipop, with all due respect to the Olipop. I'm not going to lie. Olipop's got the Barbie one out, and we got some of those for my daughter. And so I pour it into a beer glass and drink it so that my masculinity doesn't take a huge shot. But I will say that one's pretty dope. But no, Bearded Theologian, and I think it is Cabin Boys Brewery, because I'm not driving, so I can have one.
That's a plus. You are sitting in the house and enjoying yourself. I don't recall making that. I don't know where this came from. But anyway, all right. So first off, SEC dropped the preseason rankings from the ballots, right? Let me pull it up so I have it in front of me. And I know I saw this on the interwebs. I had it in front of me a minute ago, but it completely disappeared. So that's my apologies. I thought I was prepared, and I found out I was not as prepared as I thought I was.
In Satterfield, fall practices start on the 31st. So what do we got today? So 10 days. 10 days from today is the Sooners will hit the field for real live practice. And so what does that make it? 2 months, right? Or no, it makes it a month until a month and 10 days until game time. So love it. I'm already booking appointments in late August, and so every time I start looking in, I try to zone out and not book anything on like Thursday or Friday of game day.
That's the hard part, is not booking anything. Not booking anything. That's
doctor's appointments.
Oh yeah, get all those out the way, right? Be a responsible adult and human and take care of your body. Sorry guys, I am all over the place because for some reason one of the things I created downloaded the wrong thing. It's like, where did this come from? I totally did not make this. All right, we're gonna give you the first one. All right, let's look at the preseason media poll. Shout out to On3 for making it a lot easier on all of us. But you've got here, as you can see in front of us, you've got Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Your top 8. And then your bottom 8 is going to be A&M, Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and then the disrespect of them all goes to Vanderbilt. Now, teams that actually got a vote to win the SEC. Here's your SEC champions, right? Here you go, Coop. You ready? You've got, of course, Georgia with the most at 165 points. Texas got 27 points. Alabama got 12. Ole Miss got 4. Vanderbilt 2, LSU 2, and South Carolina 1, which is the most hilarious thing. But a lot of people don't get this. This is a whole bit that they do there at Media Days, that they provide Vanderbilt with votes to win the SEC. I think it's Vanderbilt Media probably. But it's a fun thing, right? So, Coop, when you see this initially, what did you think about it?
I'm not going to get too bent. I mean, preseason is preseason, right? When Oklahoma here recently has had a lot of clout going into the season, it puts a lot of pressure on the team, and I don't think that we had a complimentary football team in order to do this. But I mean, I think that top to bottom, this conference, I don't know if you can really look at a team outside of Vanderbilt that doesn't have several but if on their stuff. Georgia. Brock Bowers is gone. They lost a lot of skill position. They're integrating some new folks. Now how does that hunger? How does the NIL being taken away for speeding? How does that look? Texas lost top 5 receivers. Alabama completely new coaching staff. Ole Miss what's that defense going to look, or what's that defense going to look like under the mercenary rules? LSU, what's their defense going to look like in general? Does Missouri have the capability? There's questions for almost every single one of these teams, and if it shakes out this way, I would bet against that, because I just don't see it happening this way. This is in one of our old favorite lines. This is why this is why you line it up. This is why you take the field. This is why you play the game. And so I'm excited about this. I think Oklahoma's in a good spot right there. You're middle of the pack. It is 100% true. Oklahoma could go south. Oklahoma could, really surprise a lot of people. I think the same thing's true with LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, A&M. Then you get down to the tiers of Auburn and Kentucky and Florida and everything. And, those teams have a lot more questions to answer. So I think it's more of who do you just have the least amount of questions outside of that number 2 team, which I still don't, we'll find out.
And that's exactly what you're going to have with most of these, is you're going to just find out. Honestly, I kind of feel like there was a lot more disrespect in the Kentucky range. Their schedule's a lot simpler than people think. I do like the fact that they still did give Alabama the respect that they deserve. It feels like Kalen DeBoer, he's got a lot to prove, similarly to us. The big thing with DeBoer for me is that he doesn't have Ryan Grubb anymore, right? So that offensive coordinator's gone. He came with DeBoer initially, but then he decided to go coach the Seattle Seahawks, which massive move for him.
Yes.
I think that's probably a really big deal on his part. I'm pretty excited to see what he does up there. But the question is, what does DeBoer look like offensively without that offensive coordinator that we knew was super innovative? I kind of thought that Kentucky would have been higher. I didn't expect A&M to be there, but the rest of them kind of felt like what I was going to expect, right? We're not going to get the respect like that yet. It's something respect is earned, not given when it comes to rankings. You should always give people respect regardless until they give you a reason to not be respectful to them. And in this situation, we ain't done anything yet, and so we've got to show them. So I'm fine with it. When I did mine, this is my top 5, and we'll just leave it at the top 5 here. My top 5 is here, right? I had Georgia. I had, Georgia. We've got Alabama. Then I have Oklahoma, Texas, and then Ole Miss.
I see what you did there.
My top 5 is really around one. I kind of put Texas there because I knew it was going to make a lot of SEC people mad. But at the same time, Texas does have a favorable schedule, right? Someone actually put up the numbers on it. Texas plays 3 teams in this. Let me see. Let me look at the top. Looking at it again. They play Georgia, Oklahoma, and that's it. And then they play the rest of them as the bottom of the SEC.
And I don't think that they leave and play a true SEC road game until after they play Oklahoma, right? Because that's technically the Red River rivalry. We are the home team this year.
Yeah,
so I think
we're the quote-unquote.
Yeah, so I think that they only have 3 true road SEC games this year.
Yeah, they get the 4 home games and the 3 roads, where we get the 4 road games and the 3 homes because of the neutral site. Similar to Georgia. Georgia has the same thing because of the world's largest outdoor cocktail party they do with Florida, and they play in Jacksonville. They don't have that. So, yeah, for Texas, their first true road trip is to Vanderbilt, which their stadium's not even done. And that's post-bye week. Very favorable. Then you have Arkansas, which is in between the Florida game, and then they have A&M, which is in between with Kentucky right in the middle. So it's like every other, no back-to-back road games, which is quite favorable. And then, of course, the bigger one for them is the Michigan game on the road, which helps make their overall schedule tougher because Michigan is still a good team. But as you mentioned, this is preseason, so, I mean, I'm not mad. But for me, I think that we beat Texas again this year, right? I think that just defensively, we're going to be really good. It's no shade to Texas. I just think that defensively, we're going to be really, really good. And we played really good last time. It's funny, we went back. Everybody's gone back and calculated the last time we played, right? And if we redid that game, I'm going to be honest. I think that the score of that game would not have been 34-30. I think that if Tyree Walker catches that touchdown, the final score is 31-29. And I say that because Texas scores. They're going to try to go for two. We stop the 2-point conversion to tie the game. And then we just kneel it at 1 minute and 15 seconds. Now, granted, if they do score and tie the game and we go and do the drive, then that drive kicks in and we win 38-31, right? That's just the additional 4 points there should have been if Tyree didn't drop that ball. Kind of still bothers me to this day.
Yeah, I mean, ifs and buts, candies and nuts, right?
Exactly.
I think that when, everybody's alluding to Billy Bowman's comments that, he thinks that we left a lot out on the field. And, I think that Texas does. And, to play the contrarian, in the middle is, don't everybody get too fussy because, we all know that if this goes different, that can look different. But when it's all said and done, I think that this Oklahoma team feels like they could have put more points up. They left a lot of opportunities up there, and that was their big game after that 6 and 7 year. That was all right. Let's show what we are going to do, and let's show who we are. And so they're going to want to do it again too, because I think that there's a lot of pride. It's not just what the end result is, this year, but it is Oklahoma wants to continue to keep up that recent dominance of Texas, and they have. I mean, it is one of the largest rivalries in the country, and we always have that game circled. And if you are a Sooner or a Texas fan and you want to play that one down, you're fooling yourself, because both of those teams have this game circled every year.
Real Texas fans have it circled too. They don't play that game, right? And shout out to Frightening Truth, our resident Texas fan. He pointed out here the first true real game is Michigan. Yeah, Michigan, y'all are going to play against Michigan in the big house. Totally get. We were talking about SEC road game, right? Yeah. SEC road game, you don't have to see nobody on the road until Vanderbilt, in which they don't even have a stadium. Which I think a portion of the stadium is gone.
Yeah, it's Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and A&M. So you technically have two true SEC road games. And unfortunately for Texas, it's two teams that absolutely hate Texas. I mean, and that is jealousy hate from those two programs, because neither Arkansas or A&M can hold a candle to what Texas has been recently, traditionally, any adjective, adverb, or pronoun you want to add to it. And so those are going to be two tough games. And that's if Texas can make it through both of those games, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
I agree. And so, Seth, thank you so much for the super chat, $2. We appreciate it. Put a percentage on the chance of us going 7-0. Cool. Me personally, I'm gonna put, if I was to put a percentage on us going that number, let me see, 7-0, which boom. I'm going to go 65%. I think that's a fair number. I think there's a very good chance. There's a very good chance for us to start at that. Like I said, we get up for Texas. It's a 50-50 game, so we don't know. It'll show up. We don't know which is which. We figure it out. We always do. At that, especially once we get to Texas, right? No matter who's good, who's bad, we always battle it out. That's what we've seen, right? We've seen Texas be really bad, have really bad years, and beat us on our best years. So it's not something to... we've seen Texas have some of their best years, and we beat them. It is what it is. That's the rivalry, because it's a real one. It's not what everybody else's really is. Well, I mean, it's just like the Iron Bowl. The Iron Bowl, similar way. They have a tendency of Auburn spoiling what Bama's doing. That's usually when it shows up. I haven't really seen Bama. Well, Bama hasn't been bad really since the 21st century started. So we can't say that. But I'll say I'm at a 65. What percentage are you?
Yeah, I was thinking 60, 65, right in that area. I think it is a very, very good chance because it's Temple, Houston, Tulane, Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina. Then you get to the back half of that schedule. And I think the difference between, and Frightening saying, you guys get it up. Yes, if you're an Oklahoma fan and you say that OU does not circle the calendar for Texas, you're fooling yourself too. That it is about for the past, since 1998, it is about being king of the hill in the Big 12. Now it is getting to the SEC. You want to be the stronger of the two. But that's not the goal of the season. Whereas in Oklahoma State or in Auburn or at Texas A&M, their goal of the season is to beat Oklahoma or Texas. OU and Texas, I think that there is a mutual respect there. I've seen the conversations between Brent and Sark. These things are great. And so I think that it's a 60%. Because I think it's when you're doing gambling or you're doing bets and stuff like this, like if you're throwing out 85%, I think it's an 85% chance that, that we beat Vanderbilt, if we played Vanderbilt. But we don't. So that's not something we got to deal with.
Right.
So, but yeah, 60% chance that OU starts out 7-0.
And with that, chat, hop in the comments. Let us know what y'all think. If you listen to the audio version, come over here to YouTube or shoot us a tweet or something on the IG. Let us know, where do you think Oklahoma sits at starting 7-0? We definitely want to hear from you all. And so, yeah, and I talked about mine. My reasoning is I really think that our defense is gonna surprise a lot of people. I don't think that Alabama's gonna fall off this year. I think we've got time because I think Milroe's gonna definitely turn a lot of heads. If Milroe turns heads, then it's going to be a different story out there in these streets. So, all right, let me see. Let's talk. Now we've gone 20 minutes on that. Let's talk the All-American teams, Coop. We know that – why did Coop disappear again? I hate when that happens.
I'm like
there
a genie.
He goes.
Just disappear.
Yeah, he's a genie, just magical, right? Just magically just vanish on people. Anyway, so All-American teams also was given, SEC dropped that. Let me pull this up for you all to see. That is not what I put in here. So we're going to do that. Sorry. A lot of the stuff that I was working on, for some reason, stuff ain't populating the way it's supposed to. What is today? Sunday. This is what my Sunday has been like. Let's see. Let's get you guys this one.
While you're looking at that, I do want to address a couple of these things in here. Auburn is a tough place to play. Every SEC road game is a tough place to play. You've got 100,000 psychos going absolute crazy, and that is Lemon. I hate you. And that is it. There's no more playing in front of the Bless Your Heart conference, 60,000 people, or there's no attendance in the SEC where you've got 100,000 stadium and you're not doing good, so you're at, but Auburn just doesn't have it offensively yet. Yes, I understand who their coach is, and they are recruiting like madmen. They are doing great, but we need to see something from there, before you're actually going to start saying like, oh, we believe in that offensive category, for Auburn. And yes, I think it's an unintelligent comment that Josh Heupel wants to beat us. I don't think Josh Heupel wants to come and let us have a win for our first SEC game. Every single one of these SEC teams are going to want to not lose to Oklahoma and Texas. Every single one of them. Every single one of them wants to beat us. That is it, and that is us all day long. But I don't think that people really grasp on how this team, if you are an outsider and you're coming in and you're trying to troll, if you're trolling based off of a Lincoln Riley team, then you haven't been paying attention for the past 3 years. I think that a lot of people outside of Oklahoma and people who don't pay attention to Oklahoma, they see an absolute they don't have a good perception, because if you ask a lot of random people, they might think Oklahoma went 500 last year. So
yeah.
It's that. In truth, I'm not saying you as an outsider. We got a little troll in here, and they're going after it. So
ignore the trolls. I ignore the trolls. Let's keep the focus on the actual conversation.
But the piece of going on the road, that is, every single one of these games is going to be tough. It is. Oklahoma has shown a history of tripping up where they shouldn't have, and so it is going to be about staying focused on the team right in front of you every single year, every single week.
Absolutely. All right, here's the All-American team. So the SEC dropped their All-American, the voted by the media, And this is what you have. So your quarterback is back, running back Trevor Etienne, which was kind of surprising for me. I didn't. That one kind of shocked me, but at the same time, I got it right. I picked Trevor Etienne personally. I figured he was going to be considered one. Him and Jarquez Hunter from Auburn. Then you got Luther Burton, Trey Harris at wide receiver. Tight end is Caden Priestcorn over there at Ole Miss. So Ole Miss has a couple of guys there. O-line, you're starting with Alabama's Tyler Booker, Will Campbell from LSU, Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas, Tate Ratledge from Georgia, and Cooper Mays is the center at Tennessee. You go defensive side of the ball. You had James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, Deion Walker from Kentucky, the Sear Stackhouse. At Georgia, that's your D-line. Linebackers are Harold Perkins from LSU, Danny Stutzman at linebacker, Deontay Lawson at Alabama, Michael Williams from Georgia. And then DBs are Malachi Starks from Georgia, Malachi Moore from Bama, spelled different, which is always fascinating, Billy Bowman from Oklahoma, and then Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. Coop, seeing this, what you think?
It's good to have all conference defensive players on the preseason once again. And last year last year we had Ethan Downs. The year before we had Agwebu, and that was it. So I mean, this is pretty fun, and it should start leaning some light towards people wondering, what this defense is going to be. This defense is a Clemson style defense, the right people on the bus in the right seats. I don't see anything that just glares out. I would say that Baxter out down in Texas, is somebody that I really gave a lot of consideration to at running back. Carson Beck at Georgia. I mean, this team is on his shoulders, and if he can show out, I think that he deserves the first team. The offensive line. I mean, this is now we're in a league to where you're looking at this, and this is going to be a lot of people who are going to be in the first and second round of the NFL draft, in the next 2 years. So, if you look at mock drafts, you'll see a lot of these names right now. For NFL mock drafts. So yeah, this is a pretty formidable, and I would toss up this lineup versus any other conference out there.
And the good thing for Oklahoma too is so this is the first team, second team Sooner. No Sooners made the second team, but third team we got Deion Burks on the offensive side, right? And it's funny because one of the Texas guys, CJ Vogel on Texas football, he at wide receiver, he threw Nick Anderson on his bid. He was one of the very few people that actually picked Nick, and he said, hey, man, the numbers are there. Yeah. He had an elite season, and he did, right? And I posted underneath him somebody saying, what did he do that was better than Isaiah Bond? And I showed the numbers. He had 10 less catches, 130 more yards, and 6 more touchdowns. Yeah. Nick was eating last season, and the anticipation is he will again. And with Deion Burks, who's going to be a threat, there's guaranteed 2 wide receivers is going to be a problem. We'll wait and see. We'll talk injuries in a bit around Andrell Anthony and what he looks like, and then Jalil Farouk as well. But overall, I was satisfied, especially defensively. And like you said, there's a lot of players on here that are going to be in the NFL draft at top, right? Like James Pierce is your number one dude. He is the dude that everybody in the league's like, yeah, he's going to be a monster. He is. He's very good. Played with them against him on College Football 25, and that dude was all over the place. You're like, where does this dude
run away from that one? You run away.
Yeah, I just run the opposite direction. I figure out where he's out on the field, and I flip the play, and I go away from him, right? Every single time. He's good. Like, he's a very good player, and it's just surprising, Tennessee was able to snatch him up. But the one thing that Tennessee doesn't have is a secondary. That's been the weak spot that everybody's pointed out. They've got a lot of young people there, so they've got a lot of stuff to prove. That's the more thing that's going to be very helpful for us, especially going into that game. So I thought it was fair. I like that Billy's in there as well as Danny. That if neither one of them were voted, I would have taken issue. I don't take issue with the way this list sits Next season, I anticipate if Nick Anderson put up the numbers we anticipate, if he doesn't go to the draft, he'll be a first teamer that everybody's going to be eyeballing. But he's actually draft eligible after this season, unfortunately. That's the other fun part about it. This is the year he actually can go to the draft. So depending on how good his year is, we'll have questions. But
and Jay, just looking at it, just for easy, just because I want to check my statement here, is you go to Bleacher Report's mock draft, and 6 of the first 7 are SEC guys on this list. So I mean,
right.
And you throw in Shedeur Sanders, but again, preseason. So let's, I think, like I said, with so many things, when you look at the preseason team ratings, there's so many questions for so many different teams. But these guys are players. These guys are here for a reason. And you saw Danny Stutzman. I mean, a lot of Oklahoma fans think that he should have won the Butkus Award last year. And so now more people get a chance to see him. But it is every single one of these guys. None of this is about pure projection. These guys have done work. They've put in the work. They have the production. And so this is where those things are. So these are a little bit more, if you don't show up, if you're on this team and you don't show up in the postseason, it typically is because somebody just balled out a little bit more. So there's a lot of fun names on here. And if you've been a recruiting person for a long time, it's funny because these are guys that, just were, in high school not too long ago and were, visiting in the 2020 season, to campuses or 2021. And so now it's the new crop. But this is a lot more fun watching this one than a Big 12, preseason poll.
Yeah, that's true. Because Big 12, we probably wouldn't have made anybody on the list. That's just how disrespectful they seem to be with everything that we're doing. So, yeah, I'm satisfied. I'm very satisfied with it. I do think that Nick deserved more votes. I do believe that I did think it was interesting, though, with the media portion of it, the team rankings that Oklahoma was put down at 8th, but it's okay. That's kind of what you would have expected coming into a new conference. People would have got to warm up to what Oklahoma's going to do, and it's to prove it on the field. And so luckily we've got a month. We're just over a month away. We'll be talking about 4 weeks on Friday that we're going to get to see some actual college football. So, hey, thank y'all for pulling up. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway and gift it. So let's jump right into one of the exciting things that have populated over the weekend is Oklahoma landed a nice defensive tackle that Coop, when I thought about it more and more, looking at video, making my video and, really thinking about our boy Floyd Boucard, Oklahoma may have gotten one of the big steals of this class. How'd you feel about this one?
Obviously I love Floyd, and we're working on an interview with Floyd here for tomorrow night. So everybody just kind of watch out if things line up. We're going to have his first interview post. I guess not first interview total, but like post, with us, and after his commitment. And during the commitment, Jay, and I know that I saw you in the chat on 247 also, so shout out them guys. When Tom Loy was out there, you kind of felt good because Tom Loy put his prediction in, and then he was one hosting the show. But when he was talking about each one of those teams, you saw his face absolutely light up when he started talking about Oklahoma, and he loved that right there. And so he was down to, Alabama and Miami, Oklahoma, and then he had USC still in there too because they played a big part in that. And so I think that he is a guy who I think McQuistion over at Sooner Scoop compared him to Charles Walker. Charles Walker's ups were absolutely phenomenal. He just couldn't have the consistency, but he also didn't have the same coaching staff working with him. And so this is somebody that Oklahoma went after. This guy is an absolute. He's an absolute stud. I mean, you watch the offers. Alabama was in on him. They really wanted him. And Miami, this is another time that Venables lockers him up in Miami. And so if you're a Miami fan, sorry about that. But he is criminally underrated. I still think not a big camper. Was a guy out of Canada, moved down, played in Mobile, Alabama, and now is down in the Miami area. So now he gets to go into his year and gets to work on his craft. He's going to have open communication with Todd Bates throughout the year and just working on that tape and refining that. But he just fits right in with what we've seen from every single one of these kids over the past couple years. Absolute studs, great leaders, people who want to become better men, taking care of their family, the right way. And so this is one that, Floyd's he's going to have the opportunity to rise quite a bit this year. I think that having those final schools in his Final Four, having the Alabama clout there, committing to Oklahoma, a lot of people are going to go watch him, and so he's got a chance to rise up. But this is another great get, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, Jay. I think this is an absolute steal.
Yeah, watching his film, man. I think my favorite thing about watching him is that coming in at roughly 6'3", 315. I mean, how many big boys are we used to coming in like that, right? Yeah. Like that's a great size to come in and start. And keeping the Florida pipeline going, Lemon, that is exactly it, right? That's one that I'm stoked about. We're getting to keep this Florida pipeline going. Man, Miami Central is it's basic. It's not even a pipeline, man. That's like a feeder school to the University of Miami. And it's right there. And being able to pull him out like that, even though he's not a native person of Miami, it's still a big deal to be able to go there and get a player like that. I mean, adding him with like the Tampa Catholic guys, EPL and Lewis Carter, the Crimson Missile. That's what you want to do to, like I said, build that pipeline for an area. And that's what got me excited about it. I'm like, okay. We're trying to work our way through SEC country. Now, the big thing for us is we need to go snatch up a Georgia player. If we can get ourselves a player out of the state of Georgia, 4-star, maybe a 5, then we've really created a presence in the SEC. Because that's the hardest thing to do, right? Is you ain't stealing those kids. Those are the ones that are like the hardest ones to get your hands on. Because, yeah, it's just what it is, right? Ain't nobody... Georgia and Alabama do a really good job of trying to keep people out of that spot. They're like, no, we don't share. Sharing is not caring. We'll get that. We'll get there. So as far as the class goes, you add, Floyd in here, and then you see that Cade Pichek, one of the defensive ends we were going after, decided that Nebraska is the place to be for him. He just committed today. And that, of course, threw your boy off. Like, dang, that sucks. I was hoping that we'd be able to pull him from North Dakota. But what you think about that move to Nebraska? Because to me, it kind of makes sense. It's close to the crib. And it was taken forever for the commitment to go down. I was like, yeah, somebody else is probably in his ear. He's probably considering some other options. What did you think about that move?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like Max Granville and Petchak, those are two spots that I think those are players that you get great coaching and those guys can turn into absolute contributors. And so, I mean, Petchak leaving and heading out to Nebraska, if the coaching staff really wants to keep going after them, then, maybe it's not over yet. We're still 6 months out from, the end of recruiting, just under 6 months. But that's a young room. And, when you're selling playing time with some of the guys that you already have on campus, that's tough. It is really, really tough. And I think Oklahoma had, from what it sounds like, a decision to make on NIL to dive in a little bit deeper with Petjack, give him a little bit more of an offer, and Nebraska did that. So I think that just brass tacks about it, Jay, is there's still people between Christian Jones and Michael Fasusi and Andrew Babalola that are going to command some NIL dollars, and I think it's a very, very big opportunity to go after them, and hopefully that you can go out and prove a little proof of concept here in the SEC this year, and so it's not something that I wanted to happen, but the longer it took, we were absolutely too too confident, right when he left campus. And the longer that took, then it opened more doors and more doors. And I think, like you said, just somebody got in his ear, and Matt Rule still has a lot of hope that he can sell up in Nebraska, and their schedule is going to make it easy on them because they've got a pretty easy schedule this year.
Yeah. It's favorable for Nebraska, and Rule's always done a really good job of recruiting, right? We saw what he did at Baylor. We saw what he did, heck, at Temple, right? That's kind of how he ended up with the Baylor job. He actually did good at Temple, and we see Temple end of the month, and we're like a 40-point favorite in that game, which is disturbing at the least. But Rule has been making the magic happen, and I can't even be mad at him. I can't be mad at what he's been able to do, which, like I said, it's been very much impressive, to say the least. So, I would have liked to snatch him up, but world won't come to an end. We'll be all right.
And Jay, one of the things that made Nebraska take the massive step back when they went to the Big Ten, they lost the pipeline to Texas. They quit playing those teams. They quit doing that. So in order for Nebraska to get back to relevance, they absolutely have to have those surrounding states, the North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, stealing folks out of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. That's where you have to live, and you've got to make a living, Northern Colorado even. And so, that's something that they could push to that is, we're going to lock down this area of the country. And if they don't do it, some other teams that are coming into the Big Ten, they may, because Oregon's going to throw some cash. USC, they're not winning in California, so they got to stretch somewhere. And so you got to be able to do that if you're Nebraska. So again, great get for Nebraska. If his services are still up in the air, hopefully that coaching staff stays in contact with him. Based off the 25 power line graphic, kind of sounds like we're pretty much a wrap unless something just comes and falls in your lap.
Yeah, and I don't see anything falling in our lap. It feels like it's just like, I think we're done. I think they're gonna go ahead and say, I think we're satisfied with what we have, and there's absolutely no reason for us to even concern ourselves with another player. Doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know. Trying to think. I think that's really it as far as the recruitings go. We don't have much. There's not much going on with Fasusi. We know he's end of the month. We know Babalola's beginning of August. It's all waiting game. Christian Jones doesn't have a date, so I guess that's another one that you could say could be quote unquote concerning because it's whenever he decides to get her done, right?
And you've got Sooners and the Stars, Party of the Palace. There's a lot of I can't keep track with all the names of them, anymore. But you've got, one of the days is for the younger kids. And so in talking to Sean Hutton, they're getting all their plans, together for that. And then also you're going to have some of the commitments, in the house. And so if Christian Jones does show up to that looks super favorable to, hopefully get in front of him right before things start shutting down. Fasusi has gone absolute radio silence across the board. He is not telling friends what's going on, from just having the conversations that I have. He wants to see their reaction. He wants to be a surprise for them. Babalola has had a lot of quiet around a lot, and I don't think that thing's fully done. If Babalola comes early, that's going to be interesting because we might get his decision, a week or so before the Fasusi decision. And I just continue to say I see it very, very difficult for Oklahoma to land Babalola and Fasusi. You want to split the difference and take one of those guys. You would take both of them. So, but I don't know if that opportunity presents itself, because I think Michigan right now is the team that you're kind of watching out for Babs. And but there's still a lot of game to be played with both of them. And when you miss out on recruits, NIL becomes available. And I know, Jay, that you and I offline earlier today had conversations around that one. And so we'll see if, as a recruit, if somebody drops something ungodly in your lap, that's kind of hard to not just go ahead and take that. So this class is, before we kick off, I think the OU's class is pretty much going to be wrapped up.
Yeah, I think that we're done until, with the three, like I said, the three names that we have that's pending. I think that's it. I think that, and it makes sense, because I know Venables mentioned that class-wise we weren't looking at the going big. It was more so a 23 to 24. 23 was more, I think, so what he was more so talking about. And so to me, this is the other thing too. For me, my concern around recruiting isn't as concerning, I guess you could say, because the transfer portal does exist. So there's a very good chance that if you really need to fill something, it's going to be a young player somewhere that's going to be like, I'm not getting enough playing time and I'd like to go somewhere where I could compete for a chance to play, and they're going to show up. Or they feel like, I'm not developing here, or they recruited over me and someone's in that's better, then I'm not going to be able to play, and they're going to go ahead and try to come in. So to me, I sense that there's a good chance that we spend more time portal-wise in December to supplement anything we did not pick up this time around.
And you get a little bit of we've all played NCAA, at this point, I think, for the most part, and in certain games you can put the little simulation to skip a little bit further ahead so that you can just get to the end if you're one of those people. And I think that with a guy like Petchak, like, he's a guy who projects to be a little bit of a stud. But you never know, right? You never know with any of these guys. You look at Michael Fasusi and you see him as somebody who could potentially just step right in and be a contributor, first or second team, right off the bat. The transfer portal gives you a little bit of that, let's fast forward and see, because you'll get a chance to see, them with a couple extra years, them with with some competition reps. I think that coaching staffs have to keep that, the truth and transparency with a lot of these players in most cases outside of certain states, Colorado. If you have a kid at Oklahoma who is, an offensive lineman, and he's just stuck behind two different guys that are just absolute studs, Brent Venables and Bill Bedenbaugh are going to take that call, and if they're interested in going here, there, or there, they're going to say, hey, listen, in practice, he would be playing if it wasn't for guys out in front of him. And those conversations do happen. And so that's where you're going to say, like, maybe we take a redshirt freshman or a sophomore, from another team, and a little bit more of a sure thing than, taking a 17-year-old at this point. So the transfer portal is, it is what we have. It's the rules that we have to do right now. And I'm just hoping that, this fan base is ready for some of the names that will eventually be leaving to the transfer portal, because these last 3 or 4 recruiting classes have been so exciting, and you want to see guys like Lewis Carter play. You want to see guys like Michael Boganowski play. You want to see guys like Devon Jordan play. But let's be honest, like, not every single one of these 25, 26 guys that we recruit this year are actually going to end up on the field as a Sooner, and you're going to have to watch them leave. And it's just part of the game nowadays.
Yeah, I sense that we're going to probably see, I mentioned this before, I see a little bit of an exodus happening coming in December, and it's going to be more so players that's going to realize at the higher point of their career that, yeah, I'm not probably going to crack a depth chart. It's probably time for me to go somewhere else. But hopefully they stick around and want to be part of the depth or whatnot, right? That's the good thing, is we've got a lot more depth than people want to acknowledge.
Would you say that it's
because we're very young?
Competitive
No,
depth?
you shut up.
Jay, it's competitive depth.
By the way, I got a competitive depth shirt that's available on the store for the channel. Check it out in the description below. I definitely want to fight Coop for that, because I did not want you to say that. Let's have a little fun here, man. So, have you played NCAA yet? Did you picked it up, didn't you? You picked up the college football game?
Yeah. I got it right before. I got it the night before it launched, and I was holding out, but I had. I had a little gift card, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go do it. Then I just totally forgot to even put the gift card in, just straight up bought it. I was just going to wait. I just don't have a lot of night time that's open. So I started out on Heisman, was probably stupid to do that. And so now I've backed down, back down to varsity, trying to learn stuff. I was a big Madden guy, and but also first person shooter stuff, storyboard, stuff like that. So and with the kids, freaking Minecraft.
Tell me this. How does this compare to Madden? Because I haven't played Madden in like 10 years.
I think that, and if you guys are in the chat, let me know. I think that Madden is, the AI helps you a little bit more in Madden, whereas this one, you don't get the certain leeway. You can't go to certain plays over and over and over again. And I've played with a couple different teams. I have the PS5 version, so those are the things that I use. But Madden seemed a little bit more easy for me. Now it doesn't mean that I can't adjust, which I've adjusted now. And for everybody in the chat, I just started my second season through and beat
nice.
Auburn 63-10 this morning. And so I'm getting a little bit better at it. I'm a big let the playmakers play, and then I usually just grab the D tackle and then just try to like spin move and press the middle. But I've gotten to where now I have to go back to taking control of the linebacker or defensive end. I'm wrecking shop with Caden Willard. So I was trying to every time I see somebody say something about that on X, I like to hop in there and let his pops know. But yeah, no, I love it. I don't know who the number 17 BB running back is. On Oklahoma, that still blows my mind. But your boy, I scored 3 touchdowns with Megwa. This
Megwa, Megwa action. I like that. He
is a bulldozer.
That's what I'm talking about. Love to hear that. All right, we got a quick super chat. Michael, thank you so much for the $4.99. We appreciate the love. So the question is, with Alabama, LSU spending over $200,000 on average, and Oklahoma spending $80,000 for NIL per on 3, how does that affect us? I'll be honest, those numbers aren't accurate at all. Zero accuracy there.
I can tell you for an absolute fact. I've had conversations with multiple different NIL collectives, and Jay, I've had these conversations with you. There's a difference from general NIL and private donations, and that's where I'll leave it at that. So if you need a private donor for a specific situation, and I'll just throw out a random one that people hear about a lot of the time. Mr. Eichert is part of the Loves family now, married into the Loves family. If the Loves family comes forward and says, hey, listen, we hear that you need a little something, they're going to show up. And same thing with folks in Auburn, Michigan, LSU, Alabama, all these different things. So these reported numbers are pretty just they're not accurate.
They're not accurate. They're not accurate at all.
For Alabama or Oklahoma or LSU or Kansas.
Put it to you like this. There's a reason why Dominic is here. Dominic Williams is here, right? If you ask Texas fans, they'll tell you they were pretty upset that that there was no, actually it was Texas fans that were upset that they lost the quote unquote bidding war with us for him, right? I don't know if it was a bidding war or not, but that's what you'll see all over message boards. It's just the funniest thing in the world. But I'll say this: we're spending way more money than what people believe, right? way more. So, but yeah, on average, I mean, the good thing is that we know that Oklahoma takes care of everybody on the roster. That's the one thing that they said they sought out to do, is make sure all players are taken care of. Greatly appreciate that. Helps bring a little bit of community. Plus, the players take care of each other too. Contrary to popular belief, players don't be mad at each other because of what each other makes. You've seen more players help others get deals that couldn't get deals than players being mad or jealous because others getting paid more than them. A lot of them go out there and they ball out. But they do come up and say, hey, I produced. Let's talk. And they're negotiating all of that stuff. But, yeah, and this is exactly right, Blood. We're broke because we're overpaying for people, though. But it's like, it never makes sense, right? So that's why I don't read into trolls or anything that they say. I just ignore them because it doesn't make any sense. None of it's all illogical in most of their arguments. But I digress. Back to NCAA conversation. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, another thing is, like, you're not going to find SMU on that list anywhere, and SMU is doling out some cash right now. You're not going to see them on any national list, but SMU has money on money on money, and they're doing a great job right now. And remember, they're not getting paid by the conference; they're not taking conference TV revenue, and they're still doing this. So if you got private donor bases that want to shell out some cash, they will do it. And Phil Knight going unlimited NIL, so they should be number one based off of any reports, correct?
Yeah, correct. They better be, and I bet you they're not. That's usually the bad part, is that a lot of that stuff. I got to go find the report and see what it says. We'll dig into it in another video a little bit later and really talk about it. But let's NCAA though. I finally got myself playing a little bit of it. I played on Heisman. I played on All-American. I played on Heisman against Penn State at Beaver Stadium. That was an experience. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That was wild. It didn't white out, but it was a wild experience. I think the most fascinating thing about that one was, for me, with it being there, was, and one thing that bothers me about the game is a pick six is really easy. That seems to be like the easiest thing to do on the game. I had like 3 pick sixes in that one. I had 3 pick sixes against LSU. I almost lost that game on All-American, which kind of upset me, but LSU was actually pretty solid. But Grant threw 5 interceptions, and I took 3 of them to the house, right? It was weird. And then Jackson threw 2 interceptions in both games. I actually was pushing the wrong button. I started figuring it out. I was like, dang, I'm pushing the wrong button. I'm throwing it to the dude on this side, and I keep hitting circle because I'm used to hitting circle on the Xbox 360, and it ain't circle. That's not the dude at the circle. And so I'm sitting there playing. It's like I was playing 14, and I'm just like, shoot, figure out the buttons, get the buttons right. Now, and playing on Heisman, I overthink. So I overthink my routes before I call them, before I pick them. Like, I've already got my progressions done before. And so I actually have an idea who I'm going to throw it to regardless. And I seem to work out so far just because I'm, pretty compulsive on that. But it's been fun. It's been a fun game. They did a really good job. The tackling is really tough, which I appreciate.
I do too.
And the ability to break tackles is somewhat real. Hitting the hole, I think that's the one thing that used to bother me about NCAA 14, was that if you didn't have it like wide open, like if you weren't wide open, you weren't taking it to the house. You weren't going anywhere. On this, you can get a hole and you can get past the dude and go. It's like, now this is realistic. The run game has been real for me. Seth with another $2. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. SEC wants to get to 20 teams. What for do you add? Ooh, that's a good one. And this will be the last question before we wrap things up. Okay.
I know who I don't
ahead,
add.
Coop. Yeah.
And this may be one, but I've been hearing more and more people start talking about it. You don't add Florida State. And here's why. Florida State has been an absolute problem in every conference they've ever been a part of. Florida State asks for the moon, and they're just a pain in the butt. So I don't think so. So if we're saying any teams, absolutely any teams, I'd like to bring in Ohio State, Clemson, Oregon, and then, you know what? Because I want them to F around and find out, Colorado.
I love the fact that you just went all over the map with yours. So I'm going to give some realistic ones.
It don't matter anymore.
To the Southeast. Well, so I'll put it this way. I think Sankey cares about regionalization. He's probably the only commissioner that cares about that, as we're now their border team, and I don't think they want to go past this direction. But once we go to the Super League and they change everything, I think it goes back to the old school look anyway. I think there's going to be an SEC that's going to have 10 teams. There's going to be a Pac-10. There's going to be a Big 10. There's going to be like a Midwest 10, right? That'll include Texas, Oklahoma, and everybody in the Midwest. There's going to be a Northeast 10. It'll be more of an actual realistic look, right? So I expect that. But if I was to add 4 teams, I think that what they would go for, they'd probably go for Clemson. They would probably take Clemson, but to be honest, I don't think that one makes sense. And this is the reason why I don't think it makes sense. You already got South Carolina. You're in that market. Yeah. You don't need any more of that. I can see them taking both North Carolina teams only because they're tied together at the hip. Mm-hmm. Even though North Carolina would want to go to the Big Ten, I could see the North Carolinas. I could see Miami. And then I could also see probably Virginia or Virginia Tech. That's probably the 4 teams you end up with. Clemson you would want just because of name recognition, but South Carolina and Clemson plays each other every year. You don't really need the market. North Carolina, though, will be a lot bigger, and it keeps everything connected. That's the ones I'm thinking.
They're really the only ones that I think that I would like to see is Oregon and Ohio State are the 2. And the reason why I said those 2 are I want to see what Ohio State. I think Ohio State and Oklahoma's programs have been pretty lined up, pretty accurate. I mean, pretty close to the past couple of years. Both of us have had absolute struggles when it came time to leaving our conference and playing SEC teams, in the playoffs. And so I would like to see what does Ohio State look like running through the SEC. Oregon, the same situation. And I don't know if there's another team outside of those 2 that you want that. Now, if USC fans, have some self-respect and demand better out of their program and they can get that thing turned around, sure, you bring USC in, but we're heading towards super conferences. It's going to happen. It's so you just sit out. But I think that I think the matchups, there's going to be so much fun coming, here in the next couple of years, just with all this stuff. And do you think I could? Yeah, I think you bring Michigan in too if you want to. I want to see what Michigan does. I love Sharon Moore. Obviously, if you're a Sooner fan, you should be rooting for that guy.
Right.
But they run a style of football that I'm not too sure how that lines up with if you're playing likewise competition week in and week out, because it gets pretty tough. Gets pretty tough banging your head against a wall for 16 weeks.
No, that's a fair point. That's fair. All right, we're out. We're going to wrap this up. Thank y'all for pulling up. Please hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. If you're listening, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You think we deserve it. Just give us 5 anyway. We'll be back on Wednesday night as we prepare for the Sooners Under the Stars. I know PG's going to have a list together, so he'll be on the show to talk about who's going to be in town and who he's talked to about that. We'll probably hit up Chris, see if he wants to pull up and just kind of chop it up ball as we prepare for that weekend, as well as party at the Palace. And hopefully we get a commitment or something there, because we usually get a commitment then. So, all that great. Thanks for pulling up. We'll chop it up with y'all. I don't know, about a day or 2. Peace.